The release of the arcade fighting game Street Fighter II in 1991 was a revolutionary moment in the fighting game genre. The game was monumentally successful due to the revolutionary joystick and button scanning technology and dazzling graphics with highly detailed characters and stages. The popularity of Street Fighter astonished the gaming industry, spawning an ample franchise. Soon after, American developers moved to capitalize on the model established by Street Fighter II. Over the next decade, games like Tekken and Mortal Kombat, featuring comprehensive digital characters, numerous secrets, and a fatality system of finishing maneuvers, achieved critical and financial success. Carrying into the 21st century, Street Fighter's template of character design has been reproduced on a mass scale, resulting in a video game universe full of stereotypical representations of race and gender. Traditionally, users and critics of video games may tend to focus primarily on the content of the games and neglect the political aspects of its design. Indeed, they may even fail to recognize game design as political. However, if video games are examined from the design perspective, as mechanisms for rendering social realities into playable form, we can begin a more thorough discussion and understanding of the social importance of video game culture. Few studies have examined racial stereotypes in video game design in depth. Comprehensive studies are necessary to examine the questions related to authorship. What are the racial demographics of those who write the content and design the interface? Overwhelmingly, the terms of inclusion and exclusion are monopolized by the few privileged individuals. Game developers.
It's true that minorities are represented stereotypically in video games. For example, black people are always represented either as criminals or as athletes, and their characteristics are usually villainous or frightening when they are criminals. There's a statistic that says that Latinos are only represented as 3% of video game characters, and none of those characters are playable characters. I think what this really speaks to is a sense of powerlessness about the minorities. That if in fact minorities are represented in these stereotypical ways, then it shows that they have a sense of powerlessness within the industry. That there are perhaps very few minorities involved in making these games, or very few of them involved in the industry at all. But just as the shift was in movies or in television in the past, from a conception of ethnic minorities as stereotypical or dehumanizing, there has to be that shift in video games as well, and I think that that's coming now as well. But really what that speaks to is an interaction with the other. Because in the past, in terms of movies and television, there was an interaction with the minorities, and they became involved in not only the process, but also more heavily involved in the representation of the minorities, which moved away from a stereotypical representation to one that is more consistent with a sense of equality about humanity. And that only comes from interaction with the other, with recognizing, with going beyond superficial interaction and superficial recognition of the other, and to move beyond stereotypes towards a recognition of the other as an equal partner in human society.
Tension manifests between being identified as opposed to self-identifying. In video games, the struggle over race and gender is between gamers' desire to identify themselves a certain way, while simultaneously having their choices dictated and restricted by the game's design and designer. Video games aren't subject to the same scrutiny from marginalized groups that other media endure. Consequently, the industry has not seen the same changes in minority portrayal that film, television, and even comic books have. Dismissing video games as just games is an reductive approach which subverts the implications of race and gender as being under construction in gameplay and game design. Video games should be analyzed as real, discursive and rhetorical spaces that construct and reproduce racial and gender meanings. Game design could have the potential to be used for critical deconstruction of racial and gender categories.